All right, guys, let's get this party started. Again, I am Michelle Morton. I'm your hostess today, along with my co-host, Gerald Gorham with Hometown Lending. Yay!
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. You're here for our online homebuyer experience. We host this once a month. Every month we come to you and we bring you, the hottest things that are happening in the market, more tips on how to get into real estate. Some of it's repetitive, right? Because the foundation is the same, right? How do we get into this market? Whether it's our first time buying, whether we're moving into our retirement home, whether we're now an empty nester and the kids are going off to college, whatever stage of life that we're in, there's this information is still relevant, right? Our goal is to definitely customize a plan for you, but ultimately the foundation is the same. Right? Credit, income, and assets. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to let you keep going. At the end of the day, the bottom line is the same. Like you say, credit, income, and assets. And I would say in that order. You obviously want to save and you want to make sure that your income is in line. But first things first, you want to make sure your credit is in good shape. And in good shape is a relative term. So what I mean by that is you want to make sure that any revolving accounts that you have a good handle on those balances. Typically, they recommend you keep the balances to about 25 to 30% of those limits. Doing so will, and also keeping regular payments on all of your accounts should keep your scores from going down. Now, there are some other ways that you can kind of trick the system to increase your scores, and we can talk about that, I'm sure, a little bit later in more depth. But credit, income, assets is definitely the foundation.
Awesome. All right, guys, so we're going to do some introductions. While Gerald and I are introducing ourselves to you, introduce yourselves to us. Again, let us know who you are in the chat. We can see your names. You don't have to drop your name, but where are you from? Are you in the DMV? If so, which part? Where do you want this house to be, right? Are you in Temple Hills, but you want to live in Columbia? Are you in Columbia and you want to live in Baltimore County? Let us know. Where are you? Are you in Northern Virginia? Are you in DC proper? Drop it in the chat. Where is your dream house? Where is that going to be? All right, I'm Michelle Morton. Again, I'm your host. I'm a licensed realtor, DC, Maryland, Virginia. Also the team lead for DMV Luxury Homes. DMV Luxury Homes is here to serve you, right? I am a wife. I am a mommy of 3. These are my 3 little Y's here, Trinity, Eden, and Grace. So me, along with Dwight, who's my business partner, and my husband, who'll pop in here at some point, we raise these 3 little girls, and that's why we work as hard as we do. And this gentleman here is my grandfather. That is George Heatley. He is another big part of my why, because he's the one who instilled the value, my core value of family, right? Family, ethics, doing the right thing. And that is where this mission and ministry of luxury and legacy came from for me. The goal is to help you guys buy, sell, and invest in real estate. You know how to find me because you're here. So call or text me if you need me. And that's a little bit about me.
Okay.
All right, Gerald, the squad. Gerald, tell the people about yourself.
So my name is Gerald Gorham Jr. I am a licensed mortgage loan officer in pretty much all of the mid-Atlantic states, but DC, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and soon to be Alabama and Tennessee if you're looking there. But I'm a DMV native. I was born in Montgomery County. I lived in Prince George's County for about 3 years, and then I moved to the Columbia area. I went to Mount St. Joseph High School. If anybody's familiar with that, it's in Baltimore City, where I ran track and played basketball. And then I went down to Atlanta, where I fell in love with the South at Morehouse College. And then after that, I moved back to the area. Since I've been in the mortgage industry, I've kind of bounced around a little bit. So at first I started in the upfront part, working with like credit repair and things of that nature, kind of preparing people to get to the stage that they needed to be able to be pre-approved. From there, I wanted to find out more about the process and how the underwriter was thinking. So I worked as a processor for 2 years. And then I moved back on the origination side just because I like interacting with people. And when you're at the processing position, playing an important job, but we don't get to join these webinars and see people's faces and talk to people. So it's not as fun to me. As for my why is for everybody, for the community. I actually more specifically want to help increase wealth in my community, help bridge the wealth gap amongst different communities in this area. This area is a melting pot, so that's key to me. Real estate is a really cool way to build your wealth because it's taking care of a need while also taking care of a want. The one is you want to increase your wealth. The need is you need somewhere to live. So you're able to kill two birds with one stone.
Yes. Thank you,
So,
Gerald. So we have Jordan. Jordan says he's in Hyattsville now, but he's doing his preliminary research for home buying in the DMV. Yes. And it's so funny. I was talking about Hyattsville earlier today, how a big part of what is now Hyattsville used to be Landover, and how Tacoma Park used to be PG County. You know, there's just this area, the DMV is so fluid. Everyone's like, why do you guys say the DMV? Because it's fluid, right? It's constantly moving. So that's exciting, Jordan. Temple Hills, hey, Tawana. Miss Vanessa, she is in Texas. Yay, she is interested, as she is an investor for everyone who knows who she is. I won't tell all her business, but she's got some exciting things going on right now. Yay! Let's see. And Miss Stacy. Stacy is actually my accountability buddy and a licensed realtor in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So, you know, Black Wall Street, all that good stuff.
okay.
All right, guys, this is, Gerald touched on it. You know, our mission, our ministry here is not just to help you get into your first home, but to really teach the core, just to teach the value of real estate in closing the wealth gap for communities that have historically been disenfranchised or historically been kept from even home ownership, right? So real estate is historically one of three ways to really create wealth, generate wealth, and pass that wealth down through generation. So, you know, drop in the chat, let us know, what does generational wealth mean to you? If you want, raise your hand, hop on the mic. This is not just for us to chat to you, but tell us, what does real estate mean to you? What does generational wealth mean to you? Why do you want to buy this home? And there's nothing wrong if you just want to buy this house to live in. We all need somewhere to live. That's why real estate is so valuable, right? Housing is a commodity. People need housing. Land is finite. There's only so much of it. It is one of the best places to put your money. Gerald, so tell us your thoughts on generational wealth, building a legacy, all that good stuff.
So I could honestly speak for days on this, but to keep it short and sweet, generational wealth to me is providing the next person in my lineage a step up from where I started. And if I can provide them a step up and they can continue to do so, then our family can accomplish, and we can I guess climb floors at that point if we go step by step. Now, more specifically, building generational wealth is kind of putting my future family in better financial position with my investments and my financial decisions today. But it's also passing knowledge. A lot of the times people think that they can't help with generational wealth just because you may not have the means, you may not have the savings to pass down to your kids, to your grandkids, whoever else. But if you go out and find out the information that you weren't taught before, and you can pass that information to them, that's giving them a step up as well. So I think it's twofold, both financially and knowledge-based. Knowledge is an asset.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many phone calls I have with people who feel like they cannot, one, purchase a property, right? Or two, that purchasing a property is so far away from their reality that they just never get started, right? There's so many people. Same, I had a client, she is a grandmother. She just purchased a beautiful home in Baltimore, in the city of Baltimore, beautiful, beautiful home. And she has children, she has grandchildren, and now they have this asset, not just for the value of it, for the financial value, but also, guess what? She just threw her mama's 60th birthday party there. You know, they had Christmas there, Thanksgiving there, and now this has become a place You know, we always say don't sell Big Mama's house. Well, guess what? She has the next Big Mama's house, and it's not rented, and someone's not going to take it from her. This is going to be what passes down for generations to come. Awesome. Jamila, quote, we always do these tweetables. She says, knowledge is an asset, from Gerald Gorham. Awesome. And, you know, speaking on that, I do want to touch on something. We often talk about, you know, generational wealth and legacy from a financial aspect, but we always talk about how building a legacy is not just money, right? You know, I talked about my grandfather, and a big part of his legacy has been our value system. You know, my grandmother passing down recipes, you know, passing down lessons, passing down how to be a good mother, how to be a good grandmother. Like, those are all things that are passed down through generations that really make up who you are and the story of your family.
Most definitely. I was just speaking with my team at that retreat when we were just talking about different ways that we could help people build wealth outside of producing like the financing. What we were thinking of is just like telling people what simple lawn care and house upkeep, how that can affect your value positively or negatively. I have very close ties to Baltimore City. So I saw somebody in the chat said that they were interested in looking at Baltimore County. That's where I live, or Baltimore City. My eyes lit up. But one of the most devastating things there is just a lot of the homes have very good structure. You can tell by the abandoned properties that are still standing in place. It's just the upkeep. If we could, as a community, kind of teach the importance of that upkeep, kind of use that as a shared responsibility, we can single-handedly drive up the value in the homes where Big Mama's house is and where it's been for years to build that generational wealth. So, I mean, that's another example of what I mean by knowledge. It's not just how to increase your credit score, best ways to save. It's how to make those assets continue to work for you.
Absolutely, guys. And, you know, to add to that, one, I'm stuck because I love the city of Baltimore, right? It doesn't help. My husband's from Baltimore, right? Born and raised. So, you know, but also, you know, when you drive through the city, you can see the history. To your point, the architecture in Baltimore is so beautiful. Right. And so you guys listen out. I've had a couple of clients who were first-time home buyers 2 years ago. I received a message today from one of them. Her and her husband, first-time home buyers, Baltimore County, 2 years ago. Literally before we hopped on this call, she emailed me. She said, Michelle, I'm ready to invest in my first property. The same grandmother that I talked about at the beginning of the session, she's like, in 3 months, she's ready for number 2. You know, the conversations that we're having with you, when we talk about credit, we talk about income, we talk about being fundable, being in a position to purchase a property. That's not just for today. It is because the same foundational things that you need in order to purchase a house are the things that you need to be mobile in life, right? To be financially mobile. You need good credit to buy a car. You need good credit to invest in real estate. So we want to help you be all around fundable, period, right?
And
Awesome.
one last tidbit, just while we are mentioning Baltimore City, Maryland especially, there are a lot of different down payment assistance programs. We'll probably get into that a little later. But Baltimore City has a lot of programs where they're pushing additional money out there, whether that's for renovation products, first-time home buyers, existing buyers. If there's anybody on this call that is looking to do something in Baltimore City within the next 2 months, shoot a message in the chat, and I will put a link to an event that's taking place on Saturday. It's the Baltimore City Trolley Tour. And what it is you basically go to the event and it enters you into a lottery. Of everybody at the event, they're going to pick 30 individuals to give $5,000 in down payment assistance. No other catch-22s or anything like that. Your attendance at the event will put you in that lottery. So if it's 35 people, then 30 people are going to be chosen. If it's 70 people, they're still going to choose 30. So I will pull that link. I'm not going to distract myself from the call right now, but before we end, I'm going to put that link in here. And it's a free event, right? It's Saturday morning from 8:30 to 1:30, and I will be there from about 8:30 until 11:30, where I have to leave for another commitment.
Awesome. And guys, this is why you have to stay connected, right? So these links will also be in the Facebook group. So luxurylegacy.com/community or luxurylegacy.com/watch, where this will be live streamed as well, or the replay will be there in that link. Any links that we have will be there. So links to get to Gerald. Make sure you follow him on IG. Why? Because he's going to be talking about these things often. Awesome. All right, guys, don't let the chat get stale. Okay, discussion. These are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. We talked a little bit about estate planning. We don't have our estate planning attorney here today, but you've seen Portia Wood. We talk about it all the time. Don't sell Big Mama's house, and there are ways to protect it. We're going to talk about the home buying process, and then we're going to talk about what everybody's really here for, the money, right? That's what you guys really care about. Like, how do I get into this house? Am I fundable? I just want to give a shout out to some people here. I'm not going to put everyone's business on the street, but I have a couple of clients in the building today. I have a couple that have already purchased. Shout out. I have a couple in here that are under contract. Woo! In this market that is not easy. And then I have a couple that are working to get there. So, and if you're not a client yet, if you decide to work with us or someone else, it doesn't matter. This is good information. And share it. Again, we do this once a month. So send your family and friends our way. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the home buying process. We're going to go through this first, and then we'll get to the money. Because when we talk about the money first, I lose you when I talk about the rest of this. Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So preparation. These are the 9-ish steps that it takes, right? So prepare. We kind of opened up with this, right, Gerald? Credit, income, and assets. Number one, that is the step that generally takes the longest. Out of all 9 steps, number one takes the longest, right? They say there's this saying out there, and it probably is a little bit different now. This was pre-COVID. It said that from the moment you decide in your brain, I want to purchase a house, to the moment you actually purchase that house, they say it's 2 years, right? So from that inception, that's true, right? Because let me buy a house. What's the first thing you do? You go to Zillow or Trulia or somewhere online. You just kind of start searching at houses, looking at the prices, checking out some Facebook groups. You might reach out to a lender. You may reach out to a realtor. You know, you may do some of these things within maybe that first year, right? Then you talk to someone, you connect with someone, a lender or a realtor that you trust, and you start having real conversations, right? Well, right now we're having some of those real conversations. So let's talk prepare. Credit, income, and assets. Credit. Why does credit matter? Then, of course, Gerald's going to help me with this part, right? So, why does credit matter? Credit matters because the bank is looking for a certain score in order to just pre-approve us, right? So generally, anything over 580 can get us pre-approved for FHA, but that has changed and it depends on the bank. Usually we want anything over a 620, and then a 640 is going to where we start seeing some of the money, right? Some of the down payment assistance programs really rain on us.
So yes, I would make a few just minor changes to that. So technically speaking, as the guidelines say, you can qualify for a FHA mortgage at a 580, but your file outside of that credit has to be pretty much spotless, firm income. You will realistically need reserves. So it needs to be a pretty strong file to get that approval at a 580. We stand a stronger chance at a 600 getting a FHA approval. There are some down payment assistance programs that you can get along with the 600. However, as you stated, getting up to the 640 will get you that money a lot cheaper, both on the monthly payment basis, as well as it'll probably get you more money at the closing table in DPA funds.
Awesome, guys. DPA equals down payment assistance. So anytime you hear that, you'll know that one. When he speaks of reserves, he means how many months worth of a mortgage payment we have sitting in the bank. So if you hear Gerald and friends say we need 2 to 3 months reserves, that means if your mortgage payment is $1,500 a month, they want $3,000 to $4,500 a month sitting in your account outside of our cash to close.
Correct.
Awesome. All right, let's talk income a little bit, right? So income, the bank just wants to know our income because they want to know how much house we can buy, right? Income is going to tell them what our budget is. They're going to look at how much we make every month, how much we spend every month, come up with this term called debt to income ratio, and that's going to determine how much house we can buy.
Yes, so that you hit the nail right on the head. So what we do is once we have your credit report, we're looking at two things. We're looking for that score. And I use an analogy of a house since we're buying homes. The credit report is like your key, right? It's going to unlock the door for you, open up the possibility for you to take advantage of some programs. Your debt to income ratio will act as like stairs. It'll tell you how much home you can buy. So to calculate that, we pull the monthly payments from your credit report, and we see what percentage of your monthly income does that account for. Most programs, we will have to limit you anywhere from a 45% debt to income ratio once we add the new mortgage in there. So basically, once we put the new mortgage payment for the property that you're buying onto all of your other debts, it cannot exceed 45 to 50% of what your monthly income is. That's the range we want to stay in to get an approval. To make sure that it works, we run your file through something that's called Desktop Underwriter. And it's a computer simulated process. It basically acts like the underwriter. So that file, or that process rather, will give us a decision on your file and let us know, hey, we can go closer to a 50% or we need to stay closer to a 45.
Awesome. And guys, I'm going to circle back and say, I see my friend Tatiana in here, and we had a conversation about real estate earlier. She was like, when you guys start talking all these numbers, my eyes glaze over. So I'm going to make it. So this is my one tip when it comes to this 45, 50, 55%. Don't calculate it. Do not try to figure it out. Submit an application with Gerald, with your favorite lender, and they're going to do all the calculations for us.
Exactly. Yeah. Leave that up to the lender. I can speak for myself. What our process is once we pre-approve you, we will send you a presentation that we call the total cost analysis. That presentation is going to break down the whole transaction for you. So it's going to show you your estimated closing costs as well as your estimated monthly payment. If I send you that presentation for a property, you can assume that your ratios fall within the lines of where you need to be. If they do not, then I'm going to simply reach out to you and let you know, hey, this property is just a little bit too expensive. But I wouldn't wreck my brain trying to make sure or trying to calculate that yourself. That's what we're here for. It's a team effort, so we'll gladly take on that role for you.
Absolutely. Awesome. And assets, right? So assets include savings, 401ks, retirement accounts, stocks. I mean, now crypto, right? These are all assets. Why do assets matter when we're buying a house? Well, there's two major costs. There is our closing cost. Those are the hard costs: taxes, insurance, title fees. Those are the things that are pretty unavoidable when it comes to purchasing a home, right? Then there is our down payment. Our down payment is anywhere, generally for a first-time home buyer, it's 3.5%. And there are down payment assistance programs that can help with that. What would you say is the average closing cost percentage?
So we typically quote about, with the down payment assistance and the closing costs and the prepaids in there, we typically tell people it's going to amount to around like 7 to 7.5% of what your sales price will be. Now, if you get some down payment assistance in there, you can bring that number down. But we like to prepare people to save about that amount. You do not have to have all of that money saved at the time that you apply. But we do ask for assets up front. The reason being is it helps us with timing. So if you submit an application with us and we pre-approve you, I do not want to send you and Michelle out making offers on properties if it's still going to take you a month or 2 months to save to carry out this purchase. So we'll look at where you stand. We'll let you know where you need to be, and we'll kind of discuss a timeline on how we'll get there over time, and base our strategy off of that.
Awesome. Guys, so combine your down payment plus your closing costs. Generally, he's saying it's about 7 to 7.5%. And when he says that down payment assistance can make a difference, so let's say we have down payment assistance program of 3.5%. that leaves us with 4% that we need to bring, right? In a former life, we could also go and say, hey, Mr. Seller, can you help me out and give me a 3% seller concession? It still happens, right? It's very rare and it's more difficult, and you have to be a lot more strategic. I have people on the call right now who we've gotten 3% seller concession. And so think about that. That takes you down to almost 1%, right? So I always tell my clients when I'm having this initial conversation with them, it's better to be prepared and have money that you do not need than to go in and at the end, who wants house buying to be a stressful situation, right? My girlfriend Stacy, that's on right now, she has a client, they're veterans, and they were out shopping for a house and they really wanted that 3% concession. She said, hey guys, just wait a little bit longer, give it another 2 to 3 months, save up some money, and then let's get back out there. Guess what? They did exactly what she said, and now they're back out there shopping, right? Credit, savings, assets. Guys, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Let us know. All right, so we've got our credit together, right? It's where we think it should be, right? And you don't have to do it alone. You do not wait till you think your credit's perfect before submitting an application. Do not wait until you think you have enough money before you submit an application. And do not wait until you think until you have $10,000 in the bank to submit an application. Submit an application the moment you think. Remember that 2-year timeline where we can cut it in half. How? By working with professionals who can help you. Submit the application, let Gerald and crew look at it, and let them give us a financial roadmap of where we need to go in order to get approved, right? Because what we need to get approved for a car is very different than what we need to get approved for a home. What we need to get approved for primary residence is very different than what we need for approval for an investment property. Who knows how to tell us how to get that shmoney? The money man, right? Gerald.
Exactly. And I couldn't second that. I couldn't say it even better. I always tell people, but when you are kind of trying to pre-approve yourself, you're working on your own. The moment when you reach out to our team, you're now working with the team. So whether it's your income that we need to tighten up, or your credit, or your assets, we're going to tell you exactly what you need to do. A lot of the time, people may know that they need to do some credit repair, and you could end up paying off a lot more than you actually needed to get where you need to be to purchase, which is taking away money that you can use for moving expenses, closing expenses, or just simply to live. So reach out, never be embarrassed. There's nothing that could be on your credit that we haven't already seen. And if it is, we're not judging anyway. We're here to help. So use us as much as possible.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So we've done all of the heavy lifting, right? We have prepared, child. We have credit, income, and assets in position, and now we are pre-approved. Yay! We actually have a pre-approval letter. Why is a pre-approval letter important? Not just a pre-qual off of a rocket mortgage, and a true pre-approval is something. A couple reasons it's important. One, we need to know what our budget is, right? We don't want to look at $500,000 houses if we're only pre-approved for $350,000. It will be a heartbreaking moment, but if we just wait to know what our budget is, then it makes more sense. The other thing is, the practical reason is because when we're out looking for homes, we find a home that we absolutely love, we want to make an offer, we need that actual PDF to attach to the signed offer in order for it even to be received. So in order for us to check off in order for us to actually submit an offer, we need a pre-approval attached to it.
Yes. And it's key to note that a pre-qualification is different than a pre-approval. A pre-qualification is less formal. So sometimes you may speak to a lender, you may tell them, hey, my credit looks like this, or they may pull what we know as a soft inquiry on your credit report. You may tell them that you make this much, and they could say, hey, well, Mr. or Mrs. Smith, you should be pre-qualified for X amount. You can't take that verbal authorization or that verbal pre-approval or pre-qualification into a property and submit an offer. You want to make sure that a lender has reviewed all of your income and asset documents so that no surprises come up when you're under contract. Not only will that be a headache for the seller, because they won't want to hear that, but it's also realistically going to be a headache for you. It's going to be something else that you're going to need to collect throughout the process to document. So if you get everything over up front and let us take a full review, that puts the onus on us. We'll do our due diligence, catch anything early, so that we can stay ahead of the ball.
Absolutely. Guys, you want to work with a team that's going to make, you hear those horror stories. Actually, I have someone on the call today who called me about it this week, right? He was like, oh my gosh, Michelle, I know we're about to go through underwriting. I've heard all these horror stories about underwriting. And I told him, I said, the reason we do so much due diligence up front, right? We, again, cross every T, dot every I. Gerald's going to collect pay stubs. They're going to collect bank statements. They're going to run your credit. They're going to do everything that they need to do up front. So that way, when we're under contract and underwriting starts, there aren't any surprises. On occasion, it happens, but it is not the norm. So do not be freaked out about underwriting, especially if you're working with a lender who's going to do everything up front. Awesome. We're pre-approved. All right, now the fun starts. We get to find a house, right? So we're out searching for a house. You're working with your realtor. Generally, in a normal market, it's going to take us anywhere. Used to tell people previous to the super sellers market that we're in now, that if you are serious about buying a house and we're not just window shopping, it should not take us any longer than 2 weeks to go under contract. Darling, that has changed. Right now, there's I was actually out with a client last night and she was like, oh my gosh, it's going to take us forever. And I said, well, why do you feel that way? She says, well, I know that every house, I know that is super competitive. I was like, yeah. And the house that we were looking at yesterday, she was like, well, I don't know, if they have other offers, I don't want to make an offer. And I said, well, every house is going to have multiple offers, right? Almost every, I said, but don't be afraid of that because I win them. Darling, we win offers. We're going under contract. So if we're out looking, so generally I want to say that process now can take us honestly anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months to find the right house, depending. And I would also say, definitely listen to your advisors, right? Listen to your realtor when she says, if we need a seller concession, maybe we need to find things that have been sitting on the market a little bit longer, right? It can't be the hottest thing on the market if we want that 3%. Or if your realtor says, there's 3 offers on this property. In order to win it, maybe we have to go up a little bit. It's not because she's trying to make an extra $5 of commission, right? It's because she really is trying to help you get that house. All right, the fun part's done. We found the house. Now we're under contract. Generally, when we're under contract, that is about a 30-day process, right? Contract to close is what we call it. There's 3 major things that happen. One is the home inspection. We're going to hire a home inspector. We, meaning you and I, will hire a home inspector. They're going to make sure there aren't any serious defects with the house. Moisture, HVAC, roof, foundation. Those are the major things that we're looking for, right? We're not looking for the stain on the carpet that was there when we walked through. Right. And just to touch on it a little bit, right now, what's happening, I know you're hearing about it. If you hear, a lot of people are making offers without home inspection contingencies. That is between you and your realtor. That is based on the property. Home inspection contingencies are there for a reason. They are there to protect you. So just keep that in mind when you're making these offers, right? Oftentimes it makes sense to remove contingencies in a highly competitive market, but just rely on your expert when it comes to making these decisions. And this is why it's important to work with experts, right? Because there's these small nuances that can really protect you or get you in trouble depending on how you maneuver. Second thing, appraiser. Gerald and Company, they're going to send out a licensed appraiser to find out the value of the house, right? They're going to make sure that if we're buying the house for $300,000, that it's worth $300,000. And if it's not, we're not paying that.
Right.
Period. Right. Now, some of you guys have heard where people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars over the appraised value. That is, in real estate terms, sometimes we call that an appraisal gap, meaning that the house is listed for $500,000. The appraisal comes back at $490,000. We say, hey, Mr. Seller, will you lower the price to $490,000, right? Seller says no. Well, we have the option to walk away or to pay the difference. Some people are paying the difference. Again, talk to your licensed realtor about that. I don't believe in paying more than anything's worth. So be very careful. But again, it depends on the property. When does it make sense to pay an appraisal gap? Okay, well, the house is 550. The homes in the area are all, it's a stable area. Montgomery County is a great place to talk about, right? It's a great example. The homes have historically always appreciated. There are, I can't say great schools, but the school system is ranked really high in the nationwide. And I'm going to raise my family here. I'm going to be in this house for 20 years. Guess what? $5,000 over 20 years, you're going to make that money back through appreciation. Now, if this is a house that I want to be in for 5 years, do not pay $10, $15, $20,000 over the appraised value, because you will not get that money back. Okay, I know it's a lot of details, but okay, we're gonna keep going. And do not feel like you need to memorize all the stuff we're talking about today. One, there will be replays. Two, we're gonna break this stuff down for you in bite-sized chunks when we go through the process. This is an overview. It's a lot of information. Cool. Third thing, this is Gerald's jam. The third thing, this is what freaks everyone out: underwriting. Gerald, what happens during the underwriting process?
Okay. So during the underwriting process, the underwriter is basically like, if we look at the process as like school, right? The underwriter is like the teacher. You're turning in your file, you're turning in your assignment, and the teacher is going to grade your assignment. Now, typically, what's going to happen is you're going to submit it the first time for what we call initial underwriting, and then we will receive a conditional approval. What a conditional approval could means is, let's use me as an example for a borrower. I submit my application to underwriting. The underwriter says, hey, Gerald seems like a fit buyer for this loan. I just want to see a couple of items before I give him the green light to go to closing. Those items, we refer to them as conditions. So that's why we call it a conditional approval. Now, there are always going to be certain items that are going to be there, like your appraisal, which would have already been ordered, but it may just not be in yet. Your title work, which would have already been ordered, but it may not be in yet. Your homeowner's insurance, but then there could also be updated documents. So since we do collect your credit and income documents at step one, that timeline from where we go to underwriting could be a gap. So some things we'll need to update. We may need updated copies of your pay stubs. I'd like to warn people up front that we are going to be asking for these things over and over and over again. And you'll wonder, my pay isn't changing. Why do you need this again? It's all time sensitive. Everything needs to be within 30 days of where we currently are. So those could be examples of conditions. Once we have those conditions, my team will work hand in hand with you to collect them so that we can send them back into underwriting to get what we call a clear to close. And that's what everybody's waiting for. That's when you have that green light to go to closing, and when we can move on to step number 8.
Yeah, guys, that is such a celebration. I mean, the email even comes out as a celebration, right? There's emojis and exclamation marks, right? Underwriting, again, just to summarize what Gerald said, they're going to come back and ask for your firstborn, your blood type, your DNA sample. They're going to ask for everything. But if your lender has done its due diligence up front, which Gerald is amazing at, then they've collected most of the things, right? They're just going to really come back with a short list of updated docs. So if they pre-approved us, where are we now? What month are we in? February. Let's say we were pre-approved in December and we're still looking. Well, guess what? Some of those docs may be a little outdated. So they may come back and ask for some of those. Venmo. Ooh, tell us a little bit about Venmo, Cash App, and Cash.
So cash is the enemy, as I state in real estate transactions. Unless you are buying the home cash, you do not want to deal with cash. So if you are preparing to buy, and you've been saving or taking out a little bit of cash, $50, $100, whatever, every check, and saving it wherever in your house, I recommend that you deposit that as soon as possible. And as close to that application period or date or before. The reason being is we have to source cash. The banks are concerned with money laundering. It's not that they think that you guys individually are, let's say, our favorite families from Ozark or your favorite TV show, but they have to review every file that way. Source means that they need to figure out where they need to trace the trail of the money. With cash, it's hard to do that. If you have a direct deposit from your pay stub, from your employer, we see exactly who that comes from. If you have a transfer from your savings to your checking account, we can see that. But just a cash deposit, we cannot prove where that money came from. What we do when we cannot prove where the money comes from, we have to pretty much ignore it. So if you had a $4,500 cash deposit into your bank account, and now your balance is $6,000, but I can't prove where that 4,500 came from, your balance to me will be 1,500, so 1,500. So it's literally money that we can't use. There are some cases when we can source the cash, but to avoid that situation, in that underwriting nightmare, where they're going to ask you for your firstborn and all of those other things that Michelle mentioned. I just say let's stay away from cash. Similar to your Cash Apps and your Venmos, right? Any transfers like that, they're going to want an explanation of what is this money? Is this income? Is this reoccurring? What is it? It's harder to prove what that is. Yes, you could say, hey, my friend sent me reimbursement for lunch. But if you have a lot of those transactions, you're going to really have to go through and improve what you're saying. Now, if it's a matter of you're currently living with somebody and you guys split the rent, and it's something that's the same amount around the same time each month, and you have a rental agreement, that's something we can easily prove. But that's another reason why we collect those assets in step one, so that we can get ahead of these things well before we're in underwriting. If I see at the pre-approval stage that you have a lot of large deposits, I'm going to mention that there, so that by the time we get down to step 7, hopefully we already have a solution, if we haven't worked a way to kind of leave that out of the file altogether.
Awesome. All right, guys, you're the quietest group we've ever had, right? Which is not a problem. It's late, right? It's dark outside. It's cold across most of the country. It's kind of a somber day with things happening around the world. But drop your questions. If you have any questions, let them know. If you don't, that means we've done a pretty good job, right? And also, we are going to have a giveaway today. So, and the giveaway, I'll just kind of go into it now. What we're going to do for the giveaway, just soaking it all in. Yay, Jordan. We're going to have a giveaway. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yay, Tatiana. Question for you. Okay, Gerald, this is a good one. I sell candles, and my clients pay me via Venmo. How does that impact me buying a house?
So the first, if you came to me with that situation, the first question I would ask you would be, how do you report that on your taxes? Because in order to use that income, I would be looking at you or at that as a self-employed business. So I would need 2 years history of tax income in order to use that income. So what it would realistically be on would be your Schedule C. So I would collect your last 2 years of Schedule Cs and probably your year-to-date profit and loss, depending on where we were in the year, and take an average of those years to calculate your monthly income. Now, if they pay you in Venmo and all of that, we can add a letter along with the profit and loss statement that'll kind of show those transactions coming in, and we can match it up. That my team will take care of kind of drawing those lines together, as long as you provide us with the documentation. But the key thing there would be that we would need for you to be reporting that income to the IRS for 2 consecutive years in order for us to use that income.
Awesome. Tatiana, she asked, what about a part-time job? How many years do you need for that income to be used?
So that's a great question, but it's gonna be 2 years as well. So pretty much down the line, we're looking for a 2-year history of income on all sources. Now, for your primary income, you do not have to be on the same job for 2 consecutive years. You can change jobs in similar fields or in the same field, and that's fine. We're just looking for what have you been doing employment-wise for the last 2 years. If you have changed fields, there are oftentimes we're able to get around that as well. We just kind of have to tell your story for the past 2 years. Now, in order to use any additional income, we need you to be on that part-time job or in a similar role for that same period. So let's say if you work at a children's center at night, and you just change from the Laurel Boys and Girls Club to the Howard County Parks and Rec. As long as there wasn't any significant gap in that time between those two positions, we'd probably be able to use that part-time income.
Awesome. From Jordan, 2 years of income for any self-employed income to be used?
Yes, yes. And the reason that it is 2 years is because they're looking for continuance, and then they're also looking at the consistency of that income. So they want to make sure that you don't want to buy a home, and because you wanted to buy a home, you went and applied for another job just so that you have more qualifying income. They want to see a record of that. So that's why they have that 2 year requirement. Now, one thing I will say is we do not always have to use the 2 year average. Sometimes, let's say if your first year you made a little less than you did this current year and the year before, sometimes we're able to get around with using a 1 year average of the income, but we would still have to show 2 years on the job.
Awesome. And guys, again, do not wait until you have 2 years with your business before you apply for a mortgage with
Right.
someone you trust, right? Why? Because there's you want to know like how you need to maneuver by being self-employed, right? We're in business, right? We pay a lot of taxes. We write off a lot of things. We write off the things that we're supposed to. Well, guess what? If you want to buy a house, that can also hurt you in some ways. Get with the lender to find out how, and maybe what we'll do is have a session, Gerald, or a live stream where we just talk about being self-employed.
Okay, yeah. And
Yeah,
then what I would say is, and I can speak for myself, but I'm sure across the board, everybody feels this way, especially around this time when we're approaching tax season. If you are self-employed and you're looking to buy, before you actually file your tax returns, send it over to your lender and just say, hey, what would this look like income wise on the application? Is this working in my favor? Or is this not working in my favor? Sometimes, yes, I know those tax write-offs can save us a little money, but we kind of have to weigh, is this money worth how much it's going to limit me for the purchase I'm trying to take on? And what has the greater financial advantage or the greater financial benefit? Me purchasing this home, or me saving a couple hundred or so around tax time. So definitely consult with your lender. Your lender's not going to do your taxes for you, but if you send them over, I can definitely let you know, hey, this is what it looks like income wise on the application.
Awesome. Yeah, he can't do your taxes, guys, or mine, but he will help give us guidance. So when we talk to our CPA or whoever does our taxes, we'll know how to guide them. All right. So after underwriting, we go to closing, we get the keys. There's a couple of other things that happen. We work with title company to make sure that we're having a clear title. Clear title means that someone can't come back and say, my great grandmother deeded me this house and how dare you buy it? Clear title means that it actually belongs to us. Title insurance guarantees that no one can take it from us. We grab the keys and we're moving in. So this is overall the process. Now we're going to talk even more about the money, just a little bit. We have about another 10 minutes left. And so we're going to do like a speed round of loan programs. So we're going to like kind of put Gerald to the test. In the meantime, what's our giveaway, guys? We're going to do a giveaway. You're going to have to take some action, and we're going to send you a special surprise gift. That is going to be at least worth $100. I mean, our business is DMV Luxury Homes, Luxury and Legacy, so it's got to be something nice. Jamila will collect information. How do you enter? You got to give us a review. Let us know how we did today, right? So if you go to luxuryandlegacy.com/reviews, we'll drop it in the chat. If Jamila's still awake, we haven't bored her. Can you drop that in the chat for us, sis? luxuryandlegacy.com/reviews. Leave a review there. And before she's there, and before we head out today, we will pick a winner, or we'll drop it in the group. And then we'll send you something really, 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 really nice, like some brownies, some chocolate, a gift card, something cool. Awesome. All right, let's talk about the money. All right, so this is just a chart that we have. We call it the Fire Your Landlord chart, right? And this goes into rent versus purchasing a home, right? And I'm not going to go into it too much for the sake of time, but let's pick any number, right? $2,000 a month. This is how much you spend over 10 years. That's a decent house. That's a nice house. 15 years. Right. And in the meantime, and you know what? I don't know how many of you guys are paying $2,000 a month right now. I mean, that would be amazing, right? Probably a little bit higher. And you know that rent is expected to increase across our country this year by 18%. 18%. So when the landlord comes to knock in, tell them I heard it first. Michelle already told me why you're here. She already told me. So just this right here, look at these numbers, take a screenshot, write it down, stop paying rent, stop paying rent. Sometimes we need to. And depending on where you live and your lifestyle, especially if you live in a city and you're paying rent, you still can buy property in other areas surrounding your city, as Auntie Vanessa, as Miss Vanessa calls it, city adjacent areas, right? That's going to offset your taxes. That's going to build this generational wealth and legacy that we spoke of before. So we're not anti-rent, right? And there's some cases where it's you rent, right? There's some cities in New York City, in some parts of Washington, D.C., you may be a renter for a while if that's what your job and your lifestyle calls for, but you still should own some property. All right, cool. FHA, Gerald. So we're going to go through all these, about 5 loan programs, and give us like the 3 to 5 sentence summary of each one.
Okay. So a FHA loan is a really good loan for a first-time home buyer. It allows you to get in with, as the slide says, the minimum of a 3.5% down payment. Sometimes you can get in with the conventional at a 3, but a lot of times you'll have to come in at a 5. So it keeps your down payment percentage low. It also is a lot more favorable with that credit score. The guidelines say 580. If you have a pretty pristine file, you can get that done. But like I said, you can also get something done with the 600. And if you need to get into a home, FHA is a great option to go to a lower score, because that home is going to help you increase your scores as well. We'll tell you different ways how to increase your scores so that we can look at a future refinance into potentially a conventional loan or anything else. The mortgage insurance, they do have mortgage insurance, upfront mortgage insurance, which is financed into your loan, and monthly MI. That monthly MI is a fixed amount. So unlike conventional, your credit score isn't determining how much your monthly MI is. So it keeps your payment consistent. What mortgage insurance is compared to homeowners insurance is, I look at it like this. Homeowners insurance is for you, the homeowner. In the unfortunate event that your home was to flood or burn down or anything like that, that insurance policy would help you with those repairs or the replacement of that home. Mortgage insurance is for the banks or for the investors. It's insurance against your loan, for protection in the event that you were to default, which basically means not make your payments on the loan. It's a mortgage insurance policy against your loan so that they can make sure that they get some of their investment back. For a FHA loan, it is required. And like I said, that monthly payment is fixed.
Awesome. Gerald, tell us a little bit about, so guys, especially in this competitive market, sometimes we're not going to buy a house that is pristine or newly renovated, right? There are other opportunities. We may buy a house that needs work. Can you tell us a little bit about the 203K loan and how that works?
Yes. So the 203K loan is a renovation loan. So what a renovation loan does is it encompasses both the purchase price and the cost of the repairs for any renovations that you need or want to make to the home. As Michelle said, you may in this market not find the home that is perfect, but I would also kind of visit something that you said a little bit earlier about the time that it's taking to find a contract. This is a great way to kind of shorten that time window. If you go into your shopping process with a creative mindset and a creative eye, I guess, or eye for potential, you can look at a home that's not all the way there. It may not have the bathroom that you want or the kitchen that you want, but it's cheaper than where you were searching. And we can afford to build those repairs in there. So you're no longer looking at somebody else's vision for your bathroom or for your kitchen, but you're looking at your own, while still getting a house in the area that you wanted, or with the amount of rooms that you wanted, or et cetera. So it's a really good way to kind of make your dream home affordable. I know I mentioned some programs in Baltimore City. They have some programs that you can partner some down payment assistance with them, that would also allow you to keep that monthly payment relatively low. There are other programs out there that will allow you to partner some down payment assistance with renovation costs, but in most cases, you will probably be handling the settlement costs on your own.
Awesome. Awesome. So again, guys, one of the key things he said, location, location, location. Again, Miss Vanessa here always says, sometimes it's a great strategy to buy the worst house in the best neighborhood, right? I have so many clients calling saying that they feel priced out of communities. Well, this is a great way to get into those communities that of choice, if that's your choice, right? VA, tell us a little bit about the VA program.
VA is another great loan. It's offered for veterans or active servicemen and women. They also have favorable credit scores. They will also go down to the 580. I would say you still want to be around that 600 just to get an approval. But the main benefit here is that there is a 0% down payment. So you do not make a down payment. So that 0%, you can take the 3.5 off of that 7.5 percentage number that we use, that we said that you should be saving. There are also different programs that you can partner with VA. So different grant programs that can help take care of those closing costs. I had a VA borrower that closed at the end of December, and she actually got a grant. She got a seller credit, and she got VA funding, where she was able to walk into her home and pay off a car for about $250 because of all of those credits combined. So if you are a veteran or if you're an active serviceman and woman, definitely take advantage of this. All we need is your DD-214, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. With that, we order something called your certificate of eligibility, and that lets us know how much funding you have to put towards your down payment.
Awesome. USDA.
USDA is for more rural properties. So you can also do 100% financing there. That's what makes the product appealing. As you can see, you want to be around that 620 score. With that, I would say the higher the 640, the better. But if you're interested in a USDA loan, I would send over the property to me first so that I can make sure that it is eligible for USDA financing before you lock in on your head, hey, I want to go USDA. It has to be a property that is eligible for that. And that's actually a good point. If I can jump back to, you don't have to jump back on the slide, but just to mention FHA. If you are going FHA and you are looking at a condo or a townhome that is a part of like a homeowners association, it has to be an approved development. There is a list called the HUD list of approved condos, where they have a list where you search the development name for the condo association that your property is a part of, and they'll let us know if that is approved for FHA financing. It's important that we look that up from the beginning, because sometimes it could be a property that was approved that is no longer approved. Those approvals expire. It is possible to get those updated. Me and Michelle actually dealt with one, but it's something that we want to catch, and it does matter. So for FHA and USDA financing, you want to make sure that your property is eligible for those product types.
Absolutely. VHDA. Have you done? Yeah.
So we do not do much with VHDA, or at least myself personally. So I do not want to speak incorrectly. So what I would say is, if this is something that you were interested in, this is another reason why you kind of tell your loan officer and tell your agent exactly what you want and put that ball in their court. We're professionals, so we'll go and do the research. If there is something that you've heard of that I have not, I will do the research to make sure that I become an expert on it, not only so that I can serve you, but so that I can serve whoever comes after you as well.
Absolutely. And we don't know all of it, right? That's why we partner with each other, guys. So VHDA, again, it's really there is Maryland Mortgage Program, right? I could have put that here instead. So VHDA is Virginia focused. It's a down payment assistance program if you're in Virginia. Maryland Mortgage Program is, I always tell my clients, there's tons of down payment assistance programs, right? There are federal, there are state, there are local, there are private. VHDA just happens to be a state program. You want to tell us, and then you primarily work with Maryland Mortgage Program. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
So yes, we work with Maryland Mortgage Program, Live Baltimore, the Genoa program, all of those. But DPAs, as Michelle said, there are a lot of DPAs in the area. Some are area specific, some aren't. So the Maryland Mortgage Program is not just a singular program; it's an umbrella of different programs. You will get a minimum of $5,000 in down payment assistance, or you can get 3% of your loan amount in down payment assistance. They offer their down payment assistance in the form of a secondary loan, which means that you would have one loan for your purchase of your property, and then the down payment assistance will come in a second loan. That second loan would be 0% interest for the life of it. So if they give you $5,000 at the time that it is due, it'll only be $5,000. It is also deferred, so you never make any payments on that until that money is due. And third, there's only two action items or two events that can trigger that money to be due. You selling your home, which if you sold your home, you would simply pay the $5,000 or whatever you got out of your proceeds, or you refinancing your home, which a lot of people do. You refinance that money into your equity, so your ownership that you've acquired through the appreciation in value, or you paying down your principal in the loan to pay that debt, pay that money off. So you allow your home to pay that money off. But like I said, that's just the Maryland Mortgage Program. Live Baltimore has plenty of other programs as well that are specific to the Baltimore area. There are different neighborhoods that have different specific programs. Then there's programs like the Genoa program that is not exclusive to any one area. DC has the DC Housing Financing Agency that has DC Open Doors, and HPAP. So the options are endless. So I can't say it enough, but just be transparent. Let your team know exactly what you're looking for so that we can tell you the best route to go. We have connections all throughout this industry, but we can only serve you if you tell us what you're looking for.
Awesome. And guys, what I always tell people about down payment assistance programs, I have clients that say, hey, I've signed up for this one, or where do I sign up for a program? I always tell them, don't do it. You don't have to do all that work, right? Your lender, a good lender, is going to take all of our information and find the best program for us, right? They're going to help us get that money. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. And I know we kind of breezed through the last because we're 5 minutes over, and I promised I would respect your time. So we're going to head out. Again, we have a contest going on, luxuryandlegacy.com/reviews. Drop a review in there. Let us know how we did today, right? If you're a client here, give us a real review, right? If you're here today, give us a real review too, but let us know how this event went today. Did you learn something? What did you learn? Do you feel a little bit more prepared? Is Gerald awesome? Did Michelle not talk too much? Are you still awake? All that good stuff. Let us know. We need to know. All right, questions. We're not going to dive deep into questions today, but drop into the group, luxuryandlegacy.com/community. It is a Facebook group. Let us know how we did. Let us know if you have any questions. How do you get started? Hopefully you know that at this point. Submit an application, call me, call Gerald, right? How far in advance should I start? Right now, today. Do I have to be rich to buy a house? No. Do I have to be rich to be in real estate? No. Right? Whatever questions you have, drop them in the group. Gerald, again, how do they find you online? What's the best place to find you online?
The best place is on Instagram. So nice and simple, More Than a Mortgage, because that's what we're trying to offer. We're trying to offer you more than a mortgage. So you can find me on Instagram there. I have an open line, so I dropped my contact information in the chat earlier, but you can reach me directly at 240-248-9804. You can text that number or call that number. If you ever need to fax me, you can fax me there as well. But when I'm available around the clock. If I miss your call, miss your text, I'll give you a shout as soon as I see it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out this Thursday evening with us. Please take care. Hit us up if you have any questions. You know where to find me and my crew. Team at luxuryandlegacy.com. Team at luxuryandlegacy.com works. Team at DMV Luxury Homes works. luxuryandlegacy.com/community. YouTube, luxuryandlegacy.com/watch. All right, guys. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Okay, take
Bye.
care, everybody.